cousin.
Who you looking
You know
at?
Jelani, Chef Jelani.
Okay.
He is about to
It's
go
gonna read
live,
that
so
the
I'm
right way.
background. In a minute, I'm about
Yeah,
to turn it off.
see?
I'm gonna go to his page, Jelani Nichols, on Facebook. But he's about
Hey
to
guys, I am about to go live right now. My mom is on her phone directing people over here, but we're about to make shrimp ceviche tostadas. And shrimp ceviche tostadas are one of my favorite things to make. We can just take a quick glance for anyone who happened to be here in the first minute or so. We're going to be making, some of the goods. These things are very, very easy to make once you get a hold of it. I'm sure people will make this every once in a while once they get the chance. So we're about to get into it. I'm going to tell you guys what exactly goes into it. We're going to go over a couple things today. If you give me a second, I'm going to get some things out the fridge that needed to be refrigerated, like the shrimp. Shrimp, always, always keep in the fridge if you're not using it. Remember that. So I'm going to grab that out the fridge now. You guys want to look at these.
I'm so proud of my son. He's doing these shows every Sunday. And here's his Facebook fan page. We're having his camera too. This is what he's making today.
All right. So, got my shrimps. Go to the butcher to get these. I'm going to go over how you buy shrimp at the butcher in a second. Throw these over here. These right here. So, a couple things to remember. We're working with ceviche. And ceviche is a dish from the coastal regions of Mexico. I want to say Baja California, but that's a stretch. I'm going to say more towards just Mexico, towards all the Gulf side. Ceviche in itself requires you to have an open mind when it comes to cooking, in the terms that you're not cooking with any heat. I know some of you come into this knowing that, but at the same time, I want to emphasize that we're not eating raw seafood. We are starting with the raw seafood and just cooking it through acidity, through the orange juice and the lime juice and all that good stuff. And it also cooks the onions and whatever else you're throwing in there. Another form of this recipe is you don't use the tomatoes or the pico, and you just use cucumbers and use it that way. That's more of an American style, but it's still good. We're going to, before we get started, I'm going to go over what all these mean with you guys. So, the cooking supplies. We're using a skillet. I'm going to say more if you're making a little bit, you can use a skillet. If you're making more, party size, use a pot, a small bowl for mixing stuff, a cutting board, and a knife. 2 cutting boards for veggies and your shrimp. Remember that. Prep time is about 30 minutes in terms of juicing and cutting and veggies. All of our veggie heavy dishes involve heavy prep times. And then the cook time is about 5, 10, 15 minutes if you're using a larger whitefish such as snapper or something like that. Shrimp ceviche tostadas. Shrimp ceviche can be used as a lot of things. Dip, a filling for some, little, I'm not sure what the name is, but they're small ceviche, like taquitos, and you roll them up and they're raw. Delicious. But in the end, we're just using water, salt, raw shrimp, 21 to 25 counts. When you look at the butcher, it's going to say 21 to 25 CT. And what CT means is how many shrimp you're going to get in that pound. And so that determines how big your shrimp are. These shrimp right here are 21 counts. That means you're about to get 21 of these per pound. And so the larger the shrimp, the less of them you're going to get per pound. For jumbo shrimp, it's about 11 per pound. For really big king jumbo shrimp, they're about 6 per pound. And that's what chefs look for when they're looking for their shrimp. They go for the specific type of shrimp and the specific size of shrimp. The smallest shrimp I've seen are about 80 per pound. Those little tiny shrimp you get. And then we're going to go juice of 3 limes, juice of 2 oranges, half a cup of red onion, 2 serrano chilies, 1 cup diced tomato, 1 avocado, 1 roughly cup cilantro, 1/4 cup of olive oil, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I'm gonna let her look at that while I wash my hands. I got shrimpy hands. Remember when you're shrimp to always keep your stuff separated from the raw shrimp. That is a key. Alright, so there's a couple things we need to go over first. A couple different elements that go into this dish. One of them is shrimp preparation, right? You need to prepare your shrimp correctly. Another is roasting your peppers. These are the raw serrano. These are the roasted. These have just a different flavor. I'm not going to say more flavor because I don't want to get, bad mouthed by some of my more chili friendly people out there. But this is a raw chili, and if you don't want the heat but want more of the flavor, you roast them. If you want the heat but you also want the flavor, the seeds are what carry the heat. So you want to remember that. If you want the flavor but not the heat, and you don't really want to roast them, you could just take the seeds out. But then at the same time, you're not getting this beautiful roasted pepper, which achieves all the goals you set out to by reducing of the pepper and also increasing the flavor. You just roast them, cut these stems off, and I'll show you what to do with them. We're going to throw them in the blender with lime juice. And then we're going to start our marinade like that. So, first things first, our shrimp. When I take these shrimp, we're going to devein them and chop them. So I'm going to show you with one shrimp right now. So I've already done a good amount of these, and I don't want to do a whole other bag. So I'm going to ask my beautiful aunt to come over here while I get started on this. I think my mom took my knife. Hold on. Shout out to Justin for these beautiful knives. Did me good with them. So the vein, a lot of people will look for it here. This is where a large vein usually is. You can see, I don't know if you guys can see that. Wait for it to focus. That right there. The money shot. So that right there, you can't take that out. That's not what we're going for, but if you want, you can take that out. It's a simple little pull and grab, But that's not what I look for most of the time. I look for this. That big blue streak. Wait for it to focus. Get the money shot. Oh, well, you guys can see that blue streak, right? I'm sure you guys can see it. There it is. There it is, Samsung. Alright, so we come down here and we take the knife and we chop along that blue line. And the blue line is more durable than you think. So you can just chop, try to save as much shrimp as possible. So you want to go like this, put your knife on the counter, and just do the same thing you do to take this line out, take that line out. Still keep most of your shrimp. You're good. And then you pull the tail off like this. Just pull it off. A lot of that is filled with nasty stuff too, so you want to keep it you don't really want to keep it. And then you just chop your shrimp like so. And when it comes to size, I'm just going to go probably about like this, the size of a dice. That's where the word dicing comes from. Those who don't know, you cut it in the shape of a dice.
So, hi, I'm Mom, and I'm trying to get my Facebook friends to know about you. And Brandy told me just to come and ask you. Can you? Because I don't know. Listen.
Let me wash my hands first.
Listen. So, I love learning this, and all my friends love learning it. And yeah, technology. Yeah, it's not quite my gift. So it's still more to come. It's gonna be amazing. I just have people screaming at me saying, "Could you share? Could you share? Could you share?" So. What I love about learning from Jelani is that at Le Cordon Bleu, they taught precision. They taught 1/4 inch, full inch, 2 inch. When I saw him dicing one potato like 7 different ways, and each way had a name, it absolutely blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. So someone has a question. They asked, can you use frozen shrimp? Was that the question?
All right, I think I just shared it.
So, can you use frozen shrimp?
You can use frozen shrimp. I'll admit I'm not as versed in frozen shrimp as frozen shrimp. If it's raw, I believe you can. Just make sure you thaw it out all the way and then do the necessary preparations of cutting it and then doing all that. If you put the frozen shrimp and it still has a little bit of ice in it and you try to put it in the marinade, you will end up, so a couple things will happen. The ice will melt in your marinade and it will water it all down. And you will end up making your marinade less potent. I'm not sure how to explain it, but the ice it just breaks down the shrimp if you don't defrost it properly. So
Stacy says, frown to frozen. She doesn't want frozen. And Jacqueline said, oh my God, I thought it was in the back. I never looked in the front. So many people. And Tora is watching. Marcus says, good stuff, bro. And Zena is watching. Your auntie Zena is watching. And Jacqueline says, I love ceviche. And Brandy's on. So many people are saying hi.
Awesome. Yeah. So always remember with shrimp, just to clarify, I saw somebody didn't realize when you're grabbing the shrimp, there's 2 you need to take out. There's this one and this one, right? That blue one, you're good. So here I have all my chopped up shrimp. And we're going to leave this for a second. We're not even going to use this right now. First, we're going to use these beautiful limes. If you don't have a lot of limes in your house, I suggest you stock up because I love them and I use them in a lot of recipes. Limes are essential to making any dish. I don't use lemons a lot. I know that probably surprises a lot of people, but limes I think are just more flavorful in terms of juice to zest, ratio. So what we're doing to make this sauce is we're using a food compressor or a food processor, not a food compressor. I don't have one of those. So we're taking one of these. And these are different from blenders. Actually, you could just come over here this way. And can you grab that board for me? Thank you. So, fruit processor. I'm going to take this. And what you're doing with this is you're throwing in your lime juice. Right? And we're going to need more lime juice than that. So, scoot this over. It's here. One of these. I didn't know we had one of these until a while ago. Alright, so cleaning boards, getting it all right. I still don't. If you guys want to comment on which way I should put this in, I haven't figured it out yet. I think it's this way because this would squeeze it like this. But then the other part of me says, want the juice not come through all here. No, but I'm
So
gonna try
let's
it out.
try.
Alright, so. Alright, we're gonna do it the other way. See what happens.
Oh, a lot faster.
Right, so I think it's this way. I'm not a scientist, but I've done two tests. Test A, test B. Test B was more juicy. So I'm gonna assume I do it like this.
Marcus says that's what I thought as well.
Right? And I didn't use this, a week ago. I just found this. So I was juicing them all by hand. And I prepped all these limes beforehand by taking these and rolling them very hard. That way, when I cut them, they're way softer and they're, already there's more juice readily available in this lime for me. I don't have to squeeze it as hard later when it's, chopped up or something. So you just get a lot of lime juice because lime juice is the acidity that's going to cook your dish. And when you cook your dish, you need to keep in mind that it is fish or it is shrimp. If you're using fish for this, use a white fish. No red fish or any other kind of seafood except crab. Crab, I guess you can use if you're, high level ceviche maker. But when you're making this, remember it's seafood, and you don't want to overcook your seafood. That is a no-no. So, once you take this, you can run that. So, same thing. Like I said earlier, we're going to take these, our roasted serrano peppers. We're going to use the seeds too. And so how we do this is we take these, just cut this off about, probably a 1/4 inch up. And then if I split this open, you can see how it looks. The seeds at this point have been cooked to the point where they aren't as spicy as, let's say, this. If you wanted to cook this pepper right here, you would just do the same thing, slice it like this, and slice it up the middle. Both of these are acceptable for cooking ceviche, right? Have it like this. If you want it to be not as spicy, but you still want to use the raw peppers, you just scrape out the seeds and you're good. But if you're roasting them, there's no need to do that. You just chop them like this. I was saying about quarters, 2 or 3. And you keep doing that. And I would say, depending on how much you're making, you do about 5 or 6 peppers like this. I'm using a mix of raw and roasted peppers so that I get that depth of flavor. And by depth of flavor, I mean the little things that people don't notice when they're eating your dish, but that are crucial to it. Like marinating and, adding salt before and after you cook a meal. Things like that at a depth of flavor that when people eat it, they go, like, why was that so good? It's because I spent so much time and effort into the little things that you don't notice. Things like roasting tomatoes and garlic and peppers. I love roasting. I make one of my favorite things to make is a super simple spaghetti, where it's the spaghetti and you roast garlic and you roast tomatoes and you pan fry basil and then you roast walnuts too, and then you mix all that into the same thing we have here. That's a food processor. You put the roasted tomatoes, roasted garlic, and you just blend all up and it makes a homemade marinara sauce. That's so good. Before you put salt or pepper or anything, just that depth of flavor and the smokiness and all that makes it unbelievably good. And so if you look at this here, you will see what we have. we have a mix of lime juice and peppers. I'm at the raw peppers to complement this. And the raw pepper is going to add spice. It's going to add a little bit of that raw vegetable taste, which, you know, we definitely need. Raw vegetable itself is a depth flavor in addition to smokiness. So we're going to come over here. Get my blender set up and my fruit processor. And you blend it until it's really, really blended well. I take this tip from Josie. She was the one who taught me how to do this. She was here on Tuesday. And I was going through, how do I make ceviche? What do I do? And of course, she lived in Mexico for 10 plus years. So if I'm going to take advice on this kind of dish from anyone, it's going to be her. And she said, you have to make it to where it's, once you think it's blended up enough, it's not. You don't want any chunks of anything on anything. You don't want any seeds. You want it all to be purified. You want it to be, not purified, pulverized. You just want it to be destroyed. Smooth.
Destroyed.
Alright, so in addition to that depth of flavor I was talking about, this is where we add our salts. Right? Can't look at that for too long. Do not put your face directly over that unless you are a seasoned veteran like my granddad. I'm sure he would just sniff it up and it wouldn't do anything to him. So here we have kosher salt. It doesn't matter if it's coarse or fine. You're going to put it in the food processor. So kosher salt, what kosher salt does, why I keep saying kosher salt in terms of salt, I think kosher salt allows you to use less of it, so it's better for you in the long run. You know, after 20, 30 years, kosher salt won't take the toll on your body regular salt does. And at the same time, iodized salt is a no-no. I'm not going to use iodized salt because it changes the flavor of what I'm cooking. Mediterranean sea salt is about the middle ground if you want the flavor, if you don't want to shell out the money on kosher salt or if you can't find it. If you want to get kosher salt, you go to the nearest Jewish market or a market around like Pakistan. They have a lot of kosher salt. Not in LA. They do not have kosher salt where I lived in LA.
Rochelle is watching. Andrea says, I love it when you cook in the kitchen. Marcus is blowing up the comments with tons of comments, enjoying it. Marcus said, I never would have thought of some of these things. Someone said, how do you spell Jelani? Jelani. Jelani. Jelani Nichols, Facebook.
So, back to depth of flavor. This is where I like to add in some orange juice and red onion. So we go fresh orange juice always, no sugar. You just need very little of this.
Don says, get it, Jelani.
So about, well, thank you. I will get it.
And Kathy says, hi, my first time watching. She's happy to be here. She had a knife and fork emoji.
So here we go, chopped red onion. And we're going to go very little because the rest of it we're going to put in the actual ceviche. So I say about a tablespoon, a teaspoon. And I'm going to call it red onion if you want. Totally cool if you don't, but if you put it in here, it's going to marinate into your shrimp in the actual bowl later. And so whatever you want to actually be in here, if you want it to be spicier, I go ahead and add some chili powder, or if you want it to be a little, sweeter, you can add a little sugar into it. I know a lot of people, if you're making the cucumber version, it's the same recipe except no tomatoes and you use cucumbers. So I'm gonna wash my hands. I got orange juice all over them. So,
Hey Natalie, hey Celeste, hey Kimberly. They're saying yummy, yummy. I think I'll make this. Here we go.
so back to blending, guys. 1 second. Alright, so I'm going to ask a question to the chat. I want you guys to reply with what you guys think. What is the best Mexican dish you've ever had? I love Mexican food. I'm going to say for me, that would be huevos rancheros. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong, but huevos rancheros is pretty good. I enjoy it thoroughly.
What is it?
Ooh, you got me on that one. It is eggs, and it is tortilla chips, and it is salsa. I don't know how they put it together, because when it comes to where I ordered it at, they didn't regard plating or telling me what was in it. And if I asked, I'm sure it would have been in Spanish, and I wouldn't have got it anyway. And I haven't thought to look it up. I just made chilaquiles the other day, and chilaquiles is nachos that you saute in salsa, and then you top it with 2 eggs. That was good.
Marcus says fresh salsa is his favorite. And Kimberly says abandigas.
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 What is abandigas?
Kimberly, tell us what abandigas
What is abandigas?
Jessica says this looks amazing. Don says I haven't had any. Don, you have to come over and eat with us then. And Marcus says, and anything with fresh lime, smiley face, smiley face.
So, what we have here, I'm going to show you guys the consistency I'm looking for. It is, if you were here a while ago, it's the consistency of the tomatillo sauce that we made. It looks very similar. This is, you could call this a salsa verde, but we don't have tomatillos in it. It is just everything a salsa verde has without the green tomatillos. And it is delicious. As this is, so I'm going to show you guys how we test sauces. You use the back of the spoon and you dip it and you test it based on how many drops come off the back of the spoon. So this is a watery, very watery sauce. What we're looking for here is a very, like, how do you say, it's very spread out. It doesn't coat the back of the spoon. A sauce like a pan sauce or Alfredo sauce, you dip it, it coats the spoon, and you get one really fat drip off the back. And then you know your Alfredo sauce is good.
So for this one, what's the goal for this one? For it to
what
be very
we're looking
thin?
for this one is we're looking for, if you dip it in, it drips out almost like water. Almost as thin as water.
So you want it very thin.
Juice,
Okay.
right? You almost want it to go back to the lime juice consistency.
Okay.
And lime juice has the viscosity of basically water.
Okay.
And so we're taking this and we're pouring this into our shrimp. All right, here's our shrimp. And we're just taking this and we're pouring it over. We take some fresh tomato and cilantro and tomato, cilantro, and serrano peppers, pico de gallo. You throw that in. And if you want, I heard it should be red onion heavy. So you add an extra 2 tablespoons of red onion. And you do not add the cilantro. The cilantro is the only thing you do not add at this point. And so you take usually a wooden spatula, because with dishes like this, it's high acidity. So you do not want to use utensils that are made out of a material that will react with the acidity like iron. If you use iron, you're going to be in a bad spot very quickly. So we mix this up. And this is going to be the start of our ceviche. And so you look at the ratios and you judge it from there. And so I'm looking at this ratio and I say, I want more onion. So I want more red onion, add a dash of onion.
Jacqueline asked, is the serrano peppers really hot? Are they really hot?
Serrano peppers are on the mild scale. If we had like a 1 through 10 of peppers, I would say serrano are on like the 4 out of the 10. If you want to go hotter, you can go ancho or the California chili pods or something of that nature. I'm gonna add some more tomato too, because I like tomato. So this is think of it like your own personal salad salsa mix, where you're mixing it what you like and you're making it how you like it. So we let this sit for about, I'll say 6 to 7 minutes.
They said, thank you. Good cooking tip about the acidity with the cooking utensils.
So, refrigerated or not refrigerated? I've heard it a lot of ways. Refrigerated, you're taking longer to cook the same thing. Not refrigerated, you stand the chance of forgetting about it for too long and you come back to shrimp that's too warm. So if you think you may forget about it, put it in the fridge. If you're standing over it in the kitchen, keep it out and it'll be ready before you know it. So we're going to leave it right here. Leave it like that. If you don't know what to do with your shrimp in terms of cooking time, you take shrimp like this after you do all your prep work, right? You take the veins out, do all the work, and you drop them in very, very lukewarm water for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then when they come out, you put that shrimp directly into your sauce, and you mix it together, and then it will basically be this, but you don't run the risk of over or under cooking your shrimp. If you do it for the first time and you feel like you want to cook your shrimp beforehand by putting them in, lukewarm water for a couple of minutes, feel free to do so. Nobody's going to judge you. Oranges and limes. Those are the acidities I choose for this. In terms of lemons, you can refer to what I said earlier. Lemons and Mexican cooking or any cooking south of the border doesn't really go together because they don't have lemons down there when the cuisine was being introduced. They had limes.
Rochelle asks, how long do you let it sit?
For about this much, this is about 4, I would say 3 cups, 4 cups. I would say let it sit for 6 minutes. You judge it based on how much acidity you add and what kind of fish and shrimp you're using. This sits for about 6 to 8 minutes. I always go on the safe side, so I would go for more like 7 to 8 minutes.
And that's 1 pound of shrimp?
Right. This is 1 pound. This is about 3/4 a pound of shrimp in this bowl here. The rest makes up the other pound, the 3 or 4 count. If you're using a whitefish, it takes less time because they're not as thick. They're more wide than they are thick. So a whitefish takes less time. So a couple things while we're letting that go. Chef Jelani is Jelani. We're having the mailing list is growing very, very rapidly, and we are sending out stuff all the time. So please join the mailing list at chefjelani.com. Free stuff.
What do they get?
Well, first thing I'm going to get is the recipe for my pico de gallo. That's going to be coming the next thing. So that's going to be pretty soon. The next thing we're getting is a recipe for chicken parm. Chicken parm is one of my favorite dishes, so I'm putting out that recipe. And
is that short for chicken parmesan, or is that a whole different?
Chicken parm. I just found out the name for it earlier today. Chicken parm is essentially it's the sandwich where it's breaded chicken and the breading has Parmesan and panko in it. And you bread your chicken in it. You top that with mozzarella and a homemade marinara sauce. And then you put basil and then you put it on a sandwich.
We have cooking tips on your website.
Yes, so very soon we're going to have cooking tips on the website. I'm going to say mid-December, late December. we're doing a couple things around that time. So the mailing list is going to be a very interesting, a very informative place to be in terms of the month of December, including our upcoming 10 tips for every chef that they should know. One of those tips is about roasting, and in specific, roasting garlic. I'm not sure how many of you roast garlic, but roasting garlic is by far one of the best things I could think of. I just had a new dish last night my aunt made. Roasted garlic. She spread it. I'm not sure who made it. Who made that?
She did.
She made that? Yeah. Roasted garlic. I came downstairs, so I didn't see how she did it, but there was roasted garlic. She on some bread. She's butter. She said butter in the background. So butter, roasted garlic, delicious.
Jacqueline asks, can you keep how long can you keep it in the refrigerator, ceviche, or do you need to consume it right away? What's the shelf life in the refrigerator?
Ceviche is short.
No more days.
Yeah, if it's in a cold fridge, I would say about 2 or 3 days. But I wouldn't keep it past that, because even if it's not going bad, it's going to overcook.
Right.
And that's the problem. It's still sitting in the acidity, so even if it doesn't go bad, it's going to overcook. The longer you keep it in the lime juice, especially, the longer it's going to overcook.
Lysandra is loving the whole roasted garlic thing. And Don asked, I don't eat meat, but I do eat seafood. Will you have recipes for folk like me? Don, we just did a vegetarian stir fry last week. So if you go back in the feed, you'll see one for you. And then this is a seafood dish. And so yes, the answer is yes, we will definitely have stuff for you here.
I only ate seafood as my only meat for about 1.5 years as a dare from my cousin's girlfriend, who's vegetarian. And I won the bet because it wasn't anything. I was tired of meat at that point. I still don't eat steak. It's just one of those things that I never got back to. But I'm pescatarian at heart. I love seafood. I love seafood. That's where I don't believe that. Seafood's always one of those that I can fall back on. I don't get tired of seafood as I do other meats. Yeah, so pescatarian dishes, my favorite. I think the next thing, if we're going to do a fish dish soon, we're going to do salmon. Probably salmon or salmon sliders.
So here's what I'd love for you guys to do. Would you put in the comments some things that you would love for Chef Jelani to make? This is an organic show. It's not just a monologue, it's a dialogue. So why don't you type in right now? So Lysandra, Don, Rochelle, Natalie, Kimberly, Celeste, Ariel, Jacqueline, you guys put in the comment line something that you would see, you would love to see Chef Jelani create, and let's start making our list. And yes, Marcus says salmon. He jumped right in with salmon. So that's one of the things on the list. And look at the ceviche. Would love to see vegetarian options of your meals. That's Brandy. Smoked salmon. Dolly says yes, I love salmon.
Yeah, so I'm not ceviche in itself. I don't think there's a vegetarian option except pico de gallo. You just don't put the shrimp in it, and then you have pico. But you're still taking all the steps to make it a great pico, like roasting your your serranos, and blending up like a juice to marinate your tomatoes and your cucumber. So it won't be
okay.
ceviche.
It's hands down. Like 5-6 people have all said salmon.
Salmon?
Everyone's saying salmon, 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 or fish taco, or pico de gallo. So it's salmon. Salmon it is. Any particular type of salmon?
I love salmon. One of my favorite things to do is to cook salmon because there's so many ways to make it, but I make it with clarified butter. That mess is delicious. If you don't, it makes your salmon not. One of the things you don't notice is your food is oily until you don't use any oil in the whole cooking process. And then you realize, like, oh, that's what no oil tastes like, you know?
Lysandra says, can you give us some tips on the best way to prepare turkey for the holidays? Lysandra, Laz, did you see us 2 weeks ago? We made leftover turkeys, leftover.
Turkey taquitos, turkey pot pie.
And oh my God, and Jelani, your turkey was so juicy.
Yeah, so I'm going to share the tip. I got this from my aunt too. She's the other one in my ear right now.
I got a pan. Okay, so the auntie that's been teaching him so many things who does not want to be on camera. But there she is right there.
No.
There she is right there. That's the famous auntie. Vicky is the famous auntie.
My auntie introduced me to how to make a brine. And a brine, I let my turkey brine for about 28 hours. For about 28 hours. I let it brine for a long time.
It was so juicy. It was so juicy.
That a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time. It was
Lodge, you got to go back in his feed on Facebook. She said, "Oh no, I missed it. You got to go back and watch it."
So the brine is salt, sugar, fruits, blueberries, cinnamon. You use cinnamon sticks, peppercorns. It's really a marinade. Just you know that you're not actually going to get. I don't know how to explain brining over marinating, but just it's such a big piece of meat that you have to. You're afforded the freedom to use whatever flavors you want because you know they're not going to influence it too much. But because at a very young age I realized no matter how little of something you put in your food, the person eating it has no option but to taste it. They may not know they're tasting it, but if you put a little bit of Sprite in your sauce, they're going to taste it. And I've done that to people. It tastes so good. One of my uncle's recipe, he puts tiki punch in the glaze.
On ham.
On ham, right? And I didn't realize it, but then I was like, it is pretty tiki. It's
Okay,
pretty
people
good
are going
too.
crazy in here. Chef Jelani, they're saying, "Hi, Auntie Vicky." Thank you, Auntie Vicky. And here are a couple of questions. Oh, one request for fried corn, that we do some things with fried corn. And then Brandy got very excited about fried corn. She's saying, yay, yay,
Fried
yay.
corn.
Fried corn.
Fried
And
corn.
then, yep. And then Rochelle asked, what about Caribbean dishes, which you studied over there for a while?
Yes,
Would you
I
tell
was
us about
in-
your studies?
I was over in the Caribbean for about a month and a half. I stayed at a great friend, Me Malone's place, and I took the ferry to work 5 days a week for about a month and a half. And I worked at Trade Winds Resort and Spa, a very, very nice resort
Exclusive.
over there. It's on a separate island. It's just super nice. Everyone has to take a ferry to get there. Workers, guests, everyone. But when I was there, it was before I learned at Le Cordon Bleu. So it was some of my first experience cooking outside of home cooking, and they threw me straight on the line. What had happened was the head chef left, and we were
The day we arrived.
we're meeting her as she's leaving for vacation, and the head chef leaves, and the sous chef becomes the head chef for 2 months or 3 months or something. And because the sous chef became the head chef, one of the line cooks became the sous chef. And lo and behold, here's a perfect little intern ready to step in, not as a prep cook
Or dishwasher.
or dishwasher. They threw me in as a line cook. Like, here, work the grill, work the line. We're down a person. We can't afford to have you just chopping vegetables all day.
Woo.
So, of course, I got my 6 hours chopping veggies, which opened my eyes to that. But then, the other hand, I was able to work the line, get my feet worked a little bit. I bought a new pair of shoes a week immediately. Like, I had a certain amount of money, and I was like, I'm cool. I will spend as much money as I need to keep my feet healthy. And so, one thing I learned over the Caribbean was gumbo. I love their gumbo. It's just hearty red wine and sausage, and it's just delicious. They use a lot of seafood. Their seafood dishes are spectacular too. But I'm not sure if I can get that same seafood over here, but I will try. That same fish. that they have.
Marcus says, nice. Rochelle asked where. That was in Tortola, British Virgin Islands.
Tortola.
Tortola. And Dolly says, wow. And La says, that's awesome, Jelani. So does that mean, Chef, that we can expect some Caribbean food coming?
Yeah, so we might have to do with the salmon some fried plantain potato chips. That might have to be with that.
Well,
if I can find plantains.
Here's one of the things that I loved that you made. I went to the restaurant and I didn't know you were cooking on the line.
Yeah.
And they had was it a mango or a pineapple wrapped salmon?
So
it was insane.
It was
What
a
was it?
whitefish. It was some whitefish over there. We don't even have it over here, but a whitefish, and we wrapped the plantain around the whitefish. And I heard, oh, your mom's back there. I'm like, oh, what? And then I keep cooking because I have to wrap plantain around her fish. And they don't tell me, but you take the fish, you wrap the plantain, and you grill it. You put it on the grill. And what the grill does is such a high heat that it cooks the plantain and the fish fast enough to where everything comes out ready at the same time. Because the fish needs longer to cook. Well, the plantain needs longer to cook because it's so, it's not like bananas. It's really thick. And so, on the grill, everything works together perfectly.
Hi, Ebony. Hey, Rachel. Hey, Celeste.
Hey, guys. So, here, you look at that. I'm going to grab some things for the ceviche. I'm going to check and see how close it is to being done. I think we should be...
Dolly says it sounds
Just about
amazing. And Rachel says pineapple wrapped salmon, yummy, yummy. And Jacqueline says, I may be off base. I only eat fish and seafood as non-plant based protein. Any fish sausage?
Yeah, so I've heard of fish sausage. The only fish sausage I've heard of is a chef in San Francisco. He made swordfish into sausage. But if you want to do that, use not a whitefish. You want to use a nice hearty fish. Albacore is a great fish to start with. It's like a steak in terms of how thick it is. And then I've been trying to get my mom to get a sausage grinder for I don't know how long.
I'm not.
A sausage grinder.
Can you see my face? I'm not getting a sausage.
A sausage grinder and some casings.
Sausage
That's all
grinder?
we need. A sausage grinder and some casings, and then the world's your oyster at that point. You're good. You can put whatever you want in the sausage grinder.
So Laz says, Jelani, what's your favorite dish to make, or your most popular dish to make? We know.
My favorite dish to make is tacos.
And everyone in the family,
Yeah.
can you guys see me, loves his salmon,
Yeah.
his, what do you call the little bee?
What,
Sliders.
the dish everyone wants me to
Salmon
make
sliders.
is salmon sliders.
Salmon sliders. They're
Salmon-
insane.
Salmon sliders are spicy, guys. Salmon sliders are the dish that most people want me to make, and it's understandable. It's really crispy on the outside, and I have a homemade slaw I make. It's like a mango slaw.
Oh my
I put that
God.
on top, and
So good.
I make an aioli, and I put the aioli, and then the bread is Hawaiian bread, and then, whew.
We need to make that. Jacqueline, don't try to talk me into getting him a sausage maker. It's not happening. Santa can't hold that. It's too heavy.
So we just strain it out because, like I said, you overcook the shrimp if you leave it in. And as you can see, the shrimp has turned colors. I'm not sure if you can see, just generally whiter because the shrimp has been cooked. And you can just tell when shrimp is cooked, it turns from blue to white. And
Hold on, hold it still so we can get focused.
oh, that focus.
Yeah.
So you can see the shrimp in here has turned white. And this is what we're looking at. It is the shrimp. It's like a shrimp pico dip thing for tortilla chips. Get this.
So you're straining all of the juice off so that the acidity stops cooking.
Right. So it won't all stop cooking because you see we have probably half of our juice left.
Okay.
Probably like a quarter of our juice left because the rest has been soaked into all of our veggies and our shrimp.
Okay.
But our veggies and our shrimp are going to keep cooking in that acidity, but at a way slower pace because they're not submerged.
Okay.
But still, this is going to keep cooking, and it's going to keep going better.
Make sure you follow Jelani on Facebook, Jelani Nichols on Facebook, Jelani Nichols on Facebook. Make sure you go to his website, chefjelani.com. There are going to be some great recipes coming up and some great private classes, small group classes coming up that you're going to be able to participate in.
So just want to show you guys before I plate it what it looks like. This is what we're looking at.
Tomatoes, red onions, peppers,
Right.
shrimp. Yummy, yummy.
So we're going diced tomato, diced red onion, diced white onion, orange, lime, serrano peppers, and all that good. So I'm going to start. And we have a couple options when we're talking about shrimp ceviche. We have chips and we have tostadas. So chips is if you're using it for a dip. If you are taking some of your shrimp ceviche.
Ask him where did he see. Ask him where did he learn that it could be a dip from.
Yeah, so my auntie is dropping knowledge bombs. She's all over me today. So you just take it like this, right? As a dip, it is essentially the same thing as it is here, except you're not garnishing it. If you eat it like this, you can eat it with cilantro. I would suggest you do. Yeah, so if my aunt agrees.
Wait, here's the nod to cilantro. Where's the nod? What? Cilantro. Right. So she's giving her thumbs up. That's all he looks for.
You garnish with the cilantro and avocado, right? And you add it to taste. So I'm just adding a little bit to show you guys when I pick it up what my bite looks like. So in the bite you're going to have the seafood, of course, but when you're taking this first bite, guys, please don't be scared. Please don't be scared. This first bite, because the last time you saw this shrimp, it was raw, and it hasn't touched any heat. It's only been like 6 minutes. I understand.
Yummy, and the camera get a little something.
The camera girl doesn't like spice. So the camera girl eats her wrist.
Marcus said, LOL, yeah, I'd be scared. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go in.
I want you guys to mark this.
For what? Why?
You asked for it.
Is it hot?
It is hot.
It's hot.
It's hot.
It's
spicy.
Okay.
We put serrano chilies in it raw.
Okay. Okay.
Let me get some milk.
It's meaty. Like it has it's just texture. It would be perfect at a party as an appetizer because it can hold the stomach down. Now, at my party, I wouldn't have it this hot. But it's good. I like the lime taste. And you can't taste the onion as if it's raw.
No. Everything has been cooked all the way through.
It actually is really good. I don't eat raw.
Yeah, I'm surprised she asked for a bite. That's why I didn't offer it to her. Because I didn't think she would eat ceviche.
Because I've been watching it and I'm like, I think I want some of that. That was delicious, son.
And so, dip form, right? And tostada form is my personal favorite. Because tostada breaks up into chips once you get into it. But at the same time, you can add it in layers and make whatever you want. I've seen tostada about that high one time. So, I'm going to take our ceviche.
Can I just say, what could be exciting about tostada, you can make avocado as the paste on the bottom like your beans.
Right.
Idea just
So, with ceviche in general, you want to serve it immediately, right? With ceviche tostadas, you want to serve it immediately because you're putting juice on top of tostada, right? So, think like this. Actually, I'm making it hard for myself. So we're going to add a good amount of ceviche. Right, this is someone grabbing couple chips full. Put the avocado on top. My mom's mouth is hot. She's trying to get ice. Her mouth is over here burning. Look at her. Look at her. We're out of ice, and so nothing's coming out. So
Leave me alone. Keep working.
Here, Mom, you want to bite a lime? This helps.
Absolutely. Thank you, son.
Here. I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen. So, to counter that hotness, we have avocado and we have crema mexicana. I'm not sure what it's just Mexican cream. But it's Mexican sour cream. And what you do, take it. Alright, so this is what it looks like. Crema mexicana. I put it in this so I can plate better. Also, I mix this with lime juice and salt. If you were here for the first video, we saw when we made tacos, and I mixed sour cream with lime juice and salt. Same thing. And then we take our cilantro, break a couple fresh off the stems. The longer you keep them on the stems, the longer they stay fresh because they're still retrieving a minimal amount of water to their leaves and whatnot. And you just drizzle this over the plate. If you want to get fancy, put it on the outskirts. And then there you go.
So I have to say this. I never knew how valuable plating was. Just coming from our family, we were all about making food good, but it wasn't about making it beautiful. And when Jelani came back from Le Cordon Bleu, from the British Virgin Islands as well, he really was about presentation. So now I think I want to make it good and I want to plate it and make it beautiful. And so there you go.
So if you guys are interested in plating, there's a couple things you remember. Sauces. I keep these on hand all the time, right? These squeezy bottles, because they make it extremely easy to do what you need to do in saucing. And so this is how you do it. Shrimp ceviche. A couple things to remember when you're making this dish. Not to go all out in terms of ingredients you want to use, because it is very simple in terms of the ingredient list, but it gets complicated in execution. I kept thinking garlic, but garlic was never on any recipe list. Roasting is optional. You can do it if you want to. Tomatoes or serrano peppers. Orange juice, lime juice. Keep those in mind for acidity. You can balance whichever one, but always try to 90% lime juice, 10% orange juice if you had to choose.
So you have Marcus commenting all over the place. Ebony said it looks so pretty. Go Jay. And shrimp ceviche tostados sounds good. Wish I could taste them. That's Ayana. And then you have Don saying look at it, looks so yummy. And then you have people commenting about how hot my mouth is, and that's funny. And Laza don't like hot either. And Joel is watching.
Yeah, so if you do not like heat, guys, roast all your peppers and don't add any raw. And if you want to use them raw, take the seeds out. The seeds are what make it hot every time. So if you don't want it hot, take the seeds out. Just use the skin of the peppers. It'll be good. Same thing. You can use more acidity. Like I told her, bite into a lime, drink some milk if it gets too hot for you. 2 serrano chilies. I used 4 today, right? Because I'm making a lot. And I like it spicy. But 2 serrano chilies if you want to keep it regular. Or you can cut the serrano chilies and use cucumbers if you want to keep it 100% not spicy. Alright, so quickly before we say goodbye for this Sunday, we're going to go chefjelani.com, Jelani. Remember, that mailing list is going to have all the goods you need. Follow me at that mailing list. We're going to be doing things all the time. Next thing we're doing, pico, chicken parm. Next week we're probably going to do salmon because of overwhelming request for salmon, and I'll see if I can find plantains. Yeah, so chefjelani.com, newclassics.co for those who have that still bookmarked. But Chef Jelani, Jelani, we love doing this every week, and we hope to do it more.
I am the sous chef that's part sous chef, part in the way, part mommy, and definitely the biggest raving fan. Thank you guys for joining us.